Welcome back to Superbly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
Yeah, we are really excited to get into today's material.
Definitely. And really quickly, before we jump in, today's material actually comes from a SpeakDuo lesson. You can go to SpeakDuo.com to meet new people from around the world who are practicing English on video calls to become more confident with their English speaking abilities.
It's an amazing resource, honestly.
It really is. But for today, our focus is mastering advanced English idioms and phrases for high-level fluency. We're getting right to it.
Exactly. Because, for the listener, understanding the really subtle nuances of these phrases, that's what separates a good English speaker from a truly advanced, native-sounding one.
Right. It's not just about knowing the dictionary definition. It's about the emotion behind the words.
Yeah, the underlying psychology, like knowing exactly when and why native speakers use them so you don't accidentally insult your boss.
Which happens more often than you think.
Yeah.
So let's start with workplace burdens, the negative stuff.
Always a fun place to start.
Yeah. The first idiom is being lumbered with. So the definition is being stuck with an unwanted burden or responsibility.
Right.
But, how is that actually different from just saying, I was tasked with the project? I hear tasked with all the time in offices.
Well, they describe the same physical situation, but entirely different emotional states. It's a really crucial nuance.
Oh, really? How so?
So being tasked with something is completely neutral. It's very professional. If you tell hiring manager, I was tasked with organizing the files, you just sound competent, like a team player.
Right, that makes sense.
But if you say you were lumbered with a job, you are actively leaking resentment. It means this heavy, unfair burden was just dropped on your shoulders.
Oh, wow. So it's almost like being handed someone else's crying baby at a party.
Exactly. That is the perfect analogy.
Like you didn't ask for it, you definitely don't want it, but now you're holding it and you can't put it down. You're lumbered with it.
Right, you're trapped. So you would never say this to the boss who gave you the task.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Very bad. You'd complain to a coworker like, I was lumbered with organizing the client event after my colleagues suddenly canceled.
Got it. Okay, so once you're lumbered with a mess, you have to fix it. And that brings us to the phrase, sort out.
Yes, meaning to resolve, fix, or deal with a problem.
But again, I use sort out and figure out interchangeably. Is there actually a difference?
Actually, yeah, there is. They point to totally different ways of solving a problem.
Okay, lay it on me.
Think about figuring out a puzzle. You're sitting there, using your brain. It's happening in your mind, but you sort out a tangible, chaotic mess.
Oh, I see. So, figure out is doing a Sudoku puzzle, but sort out is like cleaning a teenager's incredibly messy bedroom.
Exactly. It requires physical action or aggressively rearranging things.
Right. So in an IELTS Part 2 speaking exam, if you're describing a difficult situation, you might say, I had to sort out my roommate's schedule conflicts so we could establish clear chores.
Yes. You aren't just thinking about it, you're actively moving the pieces of reality around.
And sometimes, sorting things out is a massive uphill climb. Or, well, a downward one. Which leads to our next phrase, struggle down.
Right. Managing with visible difficulty to get somewhere.
But, why not just say walk down? Does adding the word struggle really change it that much?
It changes the whole picture. Walk down is just directional. It gives zero information about how the person feels.
Okay, so struggle adds the emotion.
Emotion and physical exhaustion. It's a highly visual picture. It tells the listener that gravity or the environment is actively fighting this person.
Oh, so it's not just being tired. Like at work, you'd say, she struggled down the steep stairs carrying the heavy box of archived files.
Precisely. You can almost see her sweating and trying not to trip.
Yeah, that paints a vivid picture. But what if you don't have to sort it out or struggle? What if you just escape?
The dream. The phrase for that is being off the hook.
Meaning you're freed from blame, obligation, or a difficult situation.
Right.
But wait, is this the same as being forgiven? Like if my boss lets me off the hook, is he forgiving me?
No, actually, it's different. Think about it. Forgiven implies you actually did something wrong. You took the blame, and someone decided not to punish you. But
Okay.
off the hook means you dodged the blame entirely. You wriggled free, like a fish falling off a fishing hook before it gets caught.
That makes a lot of sense. So chatting with a colleague, I'd say, when IT finally fixed the server issue, I was off the hook for the report delay.
Exactly. You didn't need forgiveness because you had the perfect excuse. You dodged the bullet.
Love it. All right, moving on from tasks to how people behave at work. Or, misbehave.
Right, social expectations in the office.
Yeah. The phrase here is not quite the ticket, which means not suitable or not quite right for the situation.
Yes.
But honestly, this feels so soft. If someone wears ripped jeans to a board meeting, why not just say, that's inappropriate?
Because saying something is inappropriate is incredibly blunt, it's harsh, and people get defensive immediately.
I guess that's true.
Not quite the ticket is this wonderful, understated British phrase. It's a polite cushion. It lets you say someone missed the mark without ruining the office harmony.
So it's like wrapping a brick in a towel before you throw it.
That is a great way to put it, yeah.
So I might say, that old coat is warm, but it's not quite the ticket for the client's wedding.
Right. You're telling them it's wrong, but preserving their dignity. And usually when someone does something that's not quite the ticket, it's because they're acting out of character.
Which means behaving completely unlike your normal personality. But isn't that just a fancy way of saying someone's acting weird?
Well, no, because acting weird is subjective. What's weird to me might be normal to you.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. Out of character specifically means they are violating their own established baseline personality.
So if the quietest guy in the office suddenly yells, that's out of character.
Exactly.
Got it. So for an IELTS exam, you could say, I am usually introverted, so I was surprisingly talkative at the meeting, which felt completely out of character for me.
Perfect example. And when colleagues act out of character, it can catch you completely unawares. Which brings us to being off your guard.
Meaning not alert, relaxed, and vulnerable to surprise. It immediately makes me think of a boxer.
Oh yeah, dropping their hands in the ring.
Exactly. If you drop your hands, you literally let your guard down, and that's when you get hit. But is this different from just being surprised?
Yes, linguistically it is. Being surprised is the feeling. Being off your guard is the state of vulnerability that actually allowed the surprise to happen.
Ah, I see. So if I'm explaining a failure to my boss, I'd say, I let my guard down, so I was completely off my guard when they asked those aggressive questions during the public presentation.
Right, you're taking accountability for your defenses being down.
Which is very mature. But what happens when you get caught off guard and you panic?
That leads to our next two idioms. People make poor decisions. They get trigger happy or they try to get even.
Trigger happy meaning too eager to act aggressively.
Yeah.
And get even meaning to take revenge. But let me push back on trigger happy. Companies always want us to be proactive, right? How is this different from being proactive?
It's all about motivation. Being proactive is positive. It's acting early based on strategy. You see a problem, you prevent it.
Okay, so it's thoughtful.
Yes. But trigger happy is acting early out of panic and recklessness. You pull the trigger before you even aim.
Wow, okay. And I guess seeking justice is noble, but getting even is just petty and personal.
Exactly. It's toxic.
You
So
know-
you might describe workplace drama by saying, my teammate got trigger happy and sent a rude email to the client, mostly because he wanted to get even after feeling treated unfairly at work.
That paints a very clear picture of a toxic situation. All right, so let's shift from human behavior to extremes.
From absolute zero to permanent finality.
Yeah, starting with couldn't matter less, meaning of absolutely zero importance. But why do I need this phrase? Why not just say it doesn't matter?
Because it doesn't matter is casual. It leaves a little wiggle room.
What do you mean?
Well, couldn't matter less has this mathematical finality to it. You've hit rock bottom. It's physically impossible for you to care any less.
That is savage. It's just the ultimate shutdown.
It really is.
So for IELTS Part 2, talking about a bad neighbor, you'd say, whether my neighbor parks badly couldn't matter less to me anymore.
Perfect. Total emotional detachment. But some things do matter deeply, especially when they're destroyed. Like our next phrase is irreparably and cease to exist.
Irreparably, meaning permanently damaged and impossible to fix, and cease to exist, meaning treated as no longer present.
Right.
I want to clarify irreparably, though. If I drop my laptop and the screen cracks, it's broken. Doesn't broken mean the same thing?
Not quite. Broken implies that it can probably be fixed. Irreparably means the damage is forever. It's ruined.
Okay, that's heavy. And what about cease to exist versus just ended?
Well, when a meeting ends, the process just stops. But cease to exist implies this dramatic fading out of reality entirely, like it's just gone.
Oh, wow. So you tell your boss, after the power surge, the hard drive was irreparably corrupted. And for a company, after the company merged, many old traditional manufacturing departments effectively ceased to exist.
Yes, it gives incredible weight to what you're saying.
Definitely. And after dealing with all that damage, sometimes you just need to hide. Which brings us to our last phrase before the quiz. Hold up.
Meaning hidden away or staying somewhere secluded for a period.
But again, why not just say, I stayed inside?
Because staying inside just describes your location. Hold up gives us your intent. It's deliberate defensive isolation to focus or hide.
Oh, so it's a strategy. Like for IELTS, last summer I holed up in a cabin to finish writing my thesis and escape constant corporate distractions.
Exactly. You are actively hiding to focus.
All right, we've unpacked so much high-level vocabulary, but now it's time for the interactive vocabulary quiz to really test it.
Yes, this is where we lock it in.
So I'm going to read a question and give options A, B, and C. I'll pause, you think about it, and then we'll give the answer.
Sounds good.
All right, question 1. Which sentence uses the idiomatic phrase lumbered with correctly based on context? Option A. The highly experienced professional carpenter carefully stacked that heavy, raw lumber with extreme care. Option B. The completely exhausted young childhood traveler quietly slumbered with his favorite soft pillow today. Option C. Following her colleague's sudden resignation, she was unfortunately completely lumbered with organizing everything yesterday.
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
All right, the answer is option C. Just a quick reminder, we talked about lumbered with meaning an unwanted burden, like being handed that crying baby.
Yeah, options A and B are traps. They just use words that sound similar, like wood lumber or slumbered.
Exactly. Moving on to question 2. Select the context where the phrase not quite the ticket is most appropriately used. Option A. Wearing casual beach sandals to formal wedding ceremonies is absolutely not quite the ticket. Option B. The deeply frustrated railway commuter anxiously realized he unfortunately did not buy the ticket. Option C. The highly athletic competitive sports team happily celebrated winning that extremely important local cricket.
Go ahead and feel free to pause the podcast here if you need a moment to think about the answer.
The correct answer is option A. Remember, not quite the ticket means unsuitable for a situation. It's that polite British cushion we talked about.
Right, it has nothing to do with a train ticket or the sport of cricket.
Nope. All right, question 3. In which situation does someone accurately utilize the advanced phrase, off your guard, figuratively? Option A. The elite security enforcement team explicitly directed the uniform officer off your guard post. Option B. Sudden aggressive questions during public presentations can easily catch you completely off your guard. Option C. The highly experienced professional casino dealer carefully removed that specific, valuable missing playing card.
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer for this one.
And the answer is option B. Off your guard means being vulnerable to surprise, like the boxer dropping his hands. Option A is a literal guard post, and C just rhymes with card.
Yeah, you have to watch out for those phonetic tricks.
Definitely. Question 4. Which response best demonstrates the advanced phrase couldn't matter less? Option A. Whether they choose blue or green decorations for the office lobby couldn't matter less. Option B. The highly intelligent physics professor thoroughly explained why dark atomic matter looks completely less. Option C. The incredibly clumsy amateur bakery kitchen assistant accidentally dropped that heavy pancake batter press.
As always, feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The answer is option A. Couldn't matter less hits absolute rock bottom of importance. Zero concern. The other options just play with science words or rhyme with batter.
Exactly. It's the ultimate apathy.
Yes, it is. All right, question 5. How would a professional accurately use the advanced adverb irreparably? Option A. The incredibly beautiful landscape painting was incomparably superior compared to all other gallery items. Option B. The highly experienced surgical medical team successfully completed an exceptionally complex biological cell repair. Option C. The critical company database files were unfortunately irreparably corrupted following that massive power surge.
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need a little more time to think about the answer.
The right answer is option C. Irreparably means permanently damaged and impossible to fix, like that hard drive crashing forever. Options A and B just sound similar.
Yep. Incomparably and repair don't mean permanent destruction.
Exactly. Question 6. Which scenario perfectly illustrates the figurative meaning of cease to exist? Option A. The highly experienced medical surgeon carefully seized the cyst during that complicated operation today. Option B. Following the corporate merger, those traditional old manufacturing departments effectively ceased to exist today. Option C. The eccentric wealthy philosopher wrote an incredibly long academic book analyzing modern human existence.
Go ahead and feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
If you guessed option B, you are correct. Cease to exist means treated as no longer present, fading out of reality entirely.
Option A is so tricky. Ceasing assist sounds identical, but it's a physical medical procedure.
It's a brutal trap. All right, just 2 left. Question 7. Which sentence accurately utilizes the advanced phrase, struggle down, contextually? Option A. She had to slowly struggle down the incredibly steep staircase carrying that heavy box. Option B. The dangerous armed criminals aggressively attempted to quickly smuggle town contraband goods tonight completely. Option C. The professional athletic heavy wrestlers continued their intense physical struggle down inside the ring.
Feel free to pause the podcast right here if you need to think about the answer.
The answer is option A. Struggle down implies visible physical difficulty while moving in a specific direction against gravity. Option C mentions a physical struggle, but misses the directional movement.
Right, there's no journey happening in the wrestling ring.
Exactly. And our final question, question 8. Which of the following statements correctly uses hold up figuratively? Option A. The frantic forest squirrel quickly dug an incredibly deep physical hole up tonight completely. Option B. To escape constant corporate distractions, the author remained quietly holed up inside that cabin. Option C. The clumsy kitchen waiter accidentally managed to completely drop that brightly shiny rolled cup.
For the last time, feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
And the correct answer is option B. Holed up means hidden away in deliberate isolation to focus or hide. It has absolutely nothing to do with digging a physical hole in the dirt.
No squirrels allowed here.
None at all. Well, if you made it through that quiz, massive congratulations. You have seriously upgraded your conversational and professional English toolkit today.
You really have. And, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Think about how the specific idioms you choose actually dictate how others view your competence.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah, if you tell your boss you were tasked with a project, you sound like a team player. But if you let it slip that you were lumbered with it, you've instantly revealed your inner resentment. Vocabulary doesn't just describe your world. It actively shapes your professional reputation.
That is such a powerful takeaway. The words you use are building your invisible resume every single day. So, keep practicing those nuanced phrases. And maybe check out SpeakDuo.com to try them out in real conversations. Until our next deep dive into the hidden mechanics of language, keep your guard up, try not to get lumbered with extra work, and take care of yourselves.